So, story time. When I was a teen, I wanted to do a creative fanfic about YouTubers, and while I was brainstorming for ideas, an old forgotten cartoon special popped into my head. And that special was a Jimmy Neutron hour-long episode where him and his friends get sucked into space and have to compete in this intergalactic game show and win, or else their planet would be destroyed. So, I wrote 500 words of that premise, but with YouTubers, posted it on Wattpad, and never touched it again. Until I remembered it again a month ago and thought to myself, fuck! That was one of my favorite cartoon specials growing up. The concept was just so cool and creative, and it really gives you infinite potential on what you can do with it. I'ma make a video about it. And so, here we are. Hi, my name's Adara, and welcome to my review and analysis on one of Nickelodeon's best forgotten TV specials titled Win, Lose, and Kaboom. Wait, really? That's what it's called? It's kind of a stupid name, to be honest. So I'm just gonna call it Intergalactic Showdown, because that sounds much better. Jimmy Neutron. Like I said, I loved this special growing up. I thought that the premise was really fun. The special is not perfect, however, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of plot holes and inconsistencies. But it's still a very fun watch with a really nice moral to give. So without further ado, here is my review of Intergalactic Showdown. To give a little bit of context, let me talk about the history of the show first. So Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, was a movie created by an animation studio called DNA Production.
Hi, I'm Paul.
And distributed by Paramount and Nickelodeon, about a boy genius and all his stories and adventures with his friends. The stories would usually revolve either on one of Jimmy's inventions going right at first, but then completely wrong, to antics that happened when they went on some kind of journey. Usually because of a screw-up that Jimmy made. For example, the Jimmy Neutron movie was about this alien race called the Yolkians who kidnapped all the children's parents from Earth. So it was up to Jimmy and all the Retroville kids to save them. It was a very fun series filled with funny antics and wacky inventions. I really loved it as a kid, and I still do today. But now I want to talk about the studios a little bit more. So DNA Productions, on its later half of the existence of the studio, focused most on the rise and creation of 3D animation, hence why Jimmy Neutron is one of its most popular projects. Fun fact, they also made the Ant Bully movie. You guys remember that movie? Wouldn't blame you if you don't. I will say one thing though, DNA Productions might not have made the prettiest things in the world. They probably made the ugliest things in the world, to be honest. But considering 3D animation was fairly new at the time, I'm sure they did what they could, especially with the budget that they had. And even though Jimmy Neutron wasn't all that pretty, especially by today's standards, it was still a very beloved show that many children grew up with. I definitely did. Shows about boy geniuses were always so much fun because they literally had infinite potential with what they could invent and do. Before Jimmy Neutron, there was Dexter's Lab, and I loved the hell out of that cartoon as a kid. Fuck, man, Dexter was my first 2D crush of all time. So here's a little embarrassing sidetrack story, but I actually had a Dexter toy when I was younger that I used to kiss on the lips with lipstick. My brother used to make fun of me a lot for it though, so I stopped doing that. I still have that toy today, however, but it's all the way back in Brazil, so I can't really show any pictures of it. But moving on. TV specials were all the rage for kids growing up. One of the most popular specials, not just on Nickelodeon but for Jimmy Neutron as well, would be the time that Jimmy and Timmy Turner crossed universes. 3 times. Don't get me wrong, those specials were fucking epic as well. It was rare at that time for fictional characters to cross universes, so I'm pretty sure everybody my age went completely nuts over those TV movies and concept. But even with that being said, I think this is still my favorite special, above Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. So what takes place in this 1 hour long special? Well, it starts off with a bunch of mysterious rocks falling down from space on a couple of different planets, including Earth.
Carl, follow me! I may need you!
Wait, what about the treaty?
Which sounds off the town alarm, making Jimmy want to go up to the sky to see what it is, rejecting his dad who wanted to come along the way for his safety. Guys, can we talk about how much of a sweetie Hugh Neutron is? Like, obviously he's played as a moron for the show, but goddamn, he's so sweet. He's such a good dad, man. I want to give him a hug so bad. You need to appreciate your dad more, Jimmy. But anyway, so they get to the rock, which almost falls on Hugh on a really funny Good Morning segment.
Morning, 2-ton space rock hurtling down on my head. Hey there, Jimbo!
And then all of the adults, plus Jimmy, have a town meeting on what they should do with the space rock.
Space rock evil! Must destroy!
The adults, of course, being really fucking dumb, keep giving stupid-ass suggestions one after the other, which actually is an interesting commentary all on its own. I find that often in children's cartoons, there is this small trend of adults always being fucking morons, and the children being the voice of common sense. The way that I interpret this trope is a comment on the fact that even though we as kids are always thinking that adults are wise and independent, the truth is most of them don't know what the fuck they're doing and are sometimes low-key extremely stupid. I mean, considering how certain people have had power throughout history, even though they were clearly unqualified, I would say this is a pretty accurate commentary. But one that can be positive when you see it as the newer generations are smarter than us and have the power to make a difference. But speaking of intelligence, just because characters like Dexter and Jimmy are geniuses doesn't mean that they know everything. After all, they're still children. And even if they weren't, it's very common for people who have more scientific intelligence to lack in emotional intelligence and social skills. After all, nobody's perfect, am I right? But anyways, Jimmy makes a compelling argument in the meeting that the rock should be studied because it comes from an advanced alien society who has a message for Earth. Before the town makes the final verdict in letting Jimmy take the rock, however, Cindy interrupts to make a counter-argument that is also incredibly valid.
Haven't we learned from the Yokians not to talk to intergalactic strangers?
Just because you get a message from outer space doesn't mean you should respond to it. Giving the excellent example of the events of the first movie where the whole problem started because Jimmy wanted to communicate with beings from outer space.
Don't listen to them. They're just scared. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Hold on. Oh my god. Pigtails. Oh my god, guys. Cindy Vortex was the original tsundere. She started the anime trend, guys. Holy shit, this is a revolutionary discovery. Sorry guys, I think I got a little overwhelmed there. But jokes aside, Cindy is usually Jimmy's antagonist and rival in the show. But in this special, they're actually trying to be friendlier towards each other. And honestly, Cindy has a really good point. Considering the show's bad luck with alien interactions, why on earth would it be a good idea to try to interact with them? I mean, that's still a good debate to have if we're talking about hypotheticals in the real world, but at least in the context of this show, Cindy is on the right. So after she gives an even more convincing argument, the townsfolk turn the rock into a tourist attraction to raise money for school books, which of course triggers the shit out of Jimmy. So of course First, he studies the rock in the park until the military finds it and takes it away to destroy it. Jimmy finishes studying it with some pictures that Carl took earlier that day, and he discovers that the message in the rock is a riddle that needs answering. To answer the riddle, Jimmy and his friends had to infiltrate the military base in the most epic heist montage I've ever seen. When they get there, Bobby is there. For some reason. Which you will realize later is literally for plot. But anyways, after this moment, this is when the special starts getting creative and even familiar. First of all, they get teleported by using a blue wormhole that looks eerily familiar. I don't know, man. I feel like I've seen this somewhere before, but I just don't know where, you know? But yeah. When they arrive, they are greeted by a cheering crowd of recycled aliens from a bunch of old episodes from the show, which they do a lot, by the way, not just with aliens, but objects and food as well if they need something that needs to be shown for a quick moment. I'm guessing it saves time and money. And a floaty host voiced by none other than Buzz Lightyear's voice actor himself, Tim Allen. Guys, I have no idea who was able to convince him to show up in a Jimmy Neutron special of all things, but I'm fucking living for it, fam. I didn't know this before making this video, but when I found out and rewatched the special for the first time in ages, it's kinda subtle at times, but I can definitely recognize Tim Allen's voice.
This week's show pits these tiny brain hominids.
And by all accounts, I think he does a pretty good job. He has a very nice delivery. I could have used more comedy from him, however, but other than that, I think he did a good job. So shortly after they arrive, the main villain of the episode, named Meldar, explained the situation to Jimmy and his friends about the rules of the game show. Obviously, they didn't want to participate because it would be risking the safety of their planet. But unfortunately, they had no other choice.
Your planet will be destroyed in 5, 4, 3, 2...
No! Stop! We'll play! We'll play!
If they forfeited or tried to refuse in any way, their planet would be destroyed. They had to win at all costs, which I thought was a very cool concept. I mean, think about it. It's a bit of a cosmic horror kind of situation, but in a very comedic fashion. So it's terrifying. But it's also in a very pathetic and depressing sort of way, because what you have to do to escape death is not some difficult trial or tribulation filled with gore and difficult, painful battles. No! You literally just have to play and win a bunch of stupid-ass games. And I feel like that's almost like a cosmic horror concept, but for children. You're subconsciously pressed with a theme, but in a way that is not traumatizing. I remember when I watched this as a kid and thought how terrifying the concept of being forced to do something for the sake of saving your entire planet was. But because it was filled with goofy games, most of the time I forgot about it, creating an extremely entertaining special. So after this, we come back to Earth where we see Hugh and Judy Neutron. So they're both watching TV and Hugh is like, "Aw man, my favorite show was cancelled." And then 2 seconds later, Earth gets hooked with free cable from space containing billions and billions of different channels. Basically infinite alien cable entertainment. Now when have I seen this? I thought it was also very familiar, like I've seen it somewhere before, but I just really can't put my finger on it, you know? Oh well, must be my imagination. But anyways, this is obviously very convenient because that is how all the children's parents find out why the heck their kids haven't come back home after dark. I really find this scene wholesome because next time we see the Neutron household, Judy called all the parents and the kids that went off into space, except Bulby's because we've never even seen his parents in the show.
This is unimaginable.
It's inconceivable. I don't believe it.
I know, the reception is amazing.
And together, the parents are in fear and concern for their children. So what do? These badass motherfuckers go into the backyard where Jimmy has a wormhole generator and decide they're going to fix that shit so they can be teleported to where their kids are. So while all the parents work to fix the wormhole, Hugh is tasked to keep an eye on the game show the kids are partaking in and make sure everything is okay with them. But of course, he doesn't only do that. He's gonna enjoy those 6 billion channels, baby. Which we'll come back to later.
What's happening with the children?
You can count on me. Just as soon as I make some bean dip.
Going back to the game show, Team Earth, or as Melder keeps calling them, Team Jellybags, which I fucking love by the way, performs 2 games in which they fail miserably. And the reason for this is simple. Jimmy doesn't trust anyone but himself and thinks he's the only one that can save the planet. In other words, his egomaniac ass wants to do everything on his own and doesn't think anyone else can help. So throughout the entire special, we have been getting hints of this as the overarching conflict of the story and lesson that Jimmy will have to learn. And I have a positive and negative comment to say about the selection of conflict that they choose for the special. On one hand, this is a very good moral to teach children. Lean on others because you are not perfect. You can't do everything on your own. If you work together with others as a team, your chances of success and survival are higher. I mean, just look at evolution for fuck's sake. We would not be where we are today if we didn't work together. But here's where my problem with this lies. As a man of science, you would have thought that Jimmy would fucking know this by now. And not just that, we have seen Jimmy working with others so many times already in the show. So why on earth does Jimmy need to relearn this crap that he should have already known? I mean, take the movie for example. Jimmy had no problem in letting all of the kids from Retroville help him to getting everybody's parents back. He made a plan and all the kids helped build the rockets together. Again, this was our introduction to Jimmy Neutron. So why, in the love of Nebula, does Jimmy have to relearn what he already knows? I thought about it and there are only 2 explanations I can think of. Either 1, the anxiety of saving the entire planet got to him and he was afraid to lean on anyone. Or 2, his ego grew massive since the first movie, until this very special. And considering Jimmy's change in attitude developed to a prideful genius, I would say it's probably the latter. But moving on. Since they lost 2 games, all of Jimmy's friends became rightfully furious with him to the point that they don't want him to do anything else anymore in fear of him ruining everything.
Neutron's being a total butt brain. I swear, if he gets the Earth blown up, our friendship is over.
I mean, honestly, I don't blame any of them, considering what Jimmy's selfishness cost. So since they lost 2 games, they had to vote off someone from their team. The girls wanted to vote Jimmy off for obvious reasons. Jimmy and Goddard wanted to vote for Cindy because Jimmy clearly can't stand the thought of him being wrong. And Carl and Sheen, both not wanting to take sides, vote off Bulby. So, who do you think Bulby's dumbass, who is literally there for plot devices reasons, voted off? Go on, guess. He voted himself off because he thought winning is good. So yeah, we got rid of Bulby, who wasn't doing much in the first place. So here's the thing, the voting off scene in this special is actually a pretty great scene. It's very atmospheric and I love this whole night tiki vibe thing. I also love that Bulby gets banned to this place called the Cell of Indignity, making everyone else think that he would be suffering there when in fact...
A little to the left.
Cell of Indignity? More like Cell of Degeneracy, am I right? Fuck, I'm jealous. So shortly after that, when everybody was sleeping but Jimmy was wide awake, he heard some weird noises coming from the woods in their camping site. And wouldn't you know it, It was one of the alien girls from the competition planet, asking for his help in a collaborative effort to join forces so they can take down the whole show for good, so that no more innocent planets would have to suffer from having to participate in it ever again. Which is actually a pretty good idea, but of course, Jimmy needs to think about it, cause he hasn't learned his lesson about team effort yet. And the next day, Team Earth has to do an eating competition. And after the screams of his fellow teammates, Jimmy gave in and letting Carl to go and take on the challenge, since he had the strongest stomach. After that, the alien girl comes by again. Jimmy accepts her offer in trying to work together, and she gives him a big old kiss on the lips.
You kissed me.
Calling it the Gorlockian Seal of Trust that shows her pledge and loyalty to him. Cindy, of course, the jealous tsundere she is, fights with the girl because Jimmy clearly deserves getting girls fighting over him.
April, stop!
Have you lost your mind, dude? I dream about girls fighting over me every night.
Me too, Sheen. Me too. So after that cat fight, the jellybags are paired up with the brains on the last challenge, which is an obstacle course. So this is probably the challenge that I always remember the most when it comes to this special. It has the most interesting visuals to me since it's an obstacle course. But it's not just that. The scariest part of the whole special comes from this part. So the humans have to compete with these beings that are literally brains. That's it, just brains. Very creative, right? But don't underestimate them. What they lack in physical attributes and creative design, they make up with creating the most fucked up, weird-ass hallucination this show has ever pulled off. So when the race starts, the brains were able to create a shortcut that only the humans saw. When they took this shortcut, they went into a trance where they got teleported back into Retroville. But Retroville seemed strange. Everything was great and Bobby and Goddard hadn't come back with them. Oh, by the way, Meldar for some reason took Goddard away from Team Earth, saying that they would be cheating, which makes zero sense to me since Goddard was able to participate in the other challenges just fine. But yeah, in this strange empty town the kids find themselves in, there is nothing but empty streets, signs, and a rainbow moon. Shortly after, the kids hear their parents calling out for them, and the sequence that follows is so fucking creepy for a child. I genuinely don't understand how these kids didn't find out something was wrong sooner. I mean, look at this shit, man!
Eat and forget.
Ew, it tastes like sheetrock.
Wow, I've never tried that flavor.
Eat and forget. Eat and forget. Jimmy, what the heck's wrong with that parent?
What the fuck? So eventually, the kids finally try to run away and are meted with a black void of nothingness. Since they were cornered, Cindy had the brilliant idea to jump because the shock would wake them up. So Jimmy, to finally fully learn his lesson of teamwork and trust, takes a very literal leap of faith, waking them up, allowing them to continue the obstacle race, and winning by a fucking inch.
Nice going, guys. I knew you were going to say that.
Following that, Team Earth and the Gorloks were tied for first place because that totally makes sense for a team that, according to Meldar, had 99% chance of getting their planet destroyed because they lost twice in a row. But moving on.
That makes sense to me.
Back on Earth, the parents miraculously were able to finish the world portal, but of course, before they could cross, Hugh tripped on the cable, throwing his nachos through the portal, which made him yeet himself after it. Also, can we talk about the fact that these goddamn nachos have no cheese in them? Who the fuck eats nachos without cheese? Come on, guys. I can excuse the fact that you recycled other foods, but this is just a disappointment. This is nasty. It's disgusting. How fucking dare you, dude? But that degeneracy aside, this was very fortunate for everyone because since the last tag was trivia on alien TV shows, and he was the only one who had any knowledge since he spent most of his time watching them, Jimmy took the strongest leap of trust ever on his dumb dad to answer the questions. Which he miraculously knew since the question he answered was about one of the 6 billion shows offered to him that he actually watched. But yeah, Ex Machina aside, they win. Go back to Earth on their shiny new car and all the other planets get destroyed. The end! Yeah, right, like it's gonna end like that. Nah, guys. Jimmy's gonna apply his lesson of teamwork, okay? So he and everyone else turns back to save the hot green alien girl and the other species. They have this epic battle against Melder and find out that his reality-shifting powers come from 2 stones, which Jimmy threatens him to give up on his merciless show by joining the damn stones together, which could cause an explosion and kill them all. And because Melder here doesn't want to die, he accepts the bluff of this fucking child to kill them all. Then he gives the stone to the alien girl, who kisses him again. Cheeky motherfucker, look at that face. And then they go back to Earth, safe again, and that is the end of the special. So what are my overall thoughts? Why did I make a video about this special other than me thinking it's the best Nickelodeon special? So first of all, like I said, I find that even though there were plot holes and a lot of Ex Machina ass-pulls, this special is a very creative concept that could be polished and perfected to put on different shows and scenarios. There is an infinite possibility with what you can do with a Space Galactic show like this. You could grab various Nickelodeon characters to fight against each other or create a whole original story with better looking aliens and environments than just, brains. It's just so memorable for the creativity alone. And it makes me sad that nobody remembers it because it came from a not so popular anymore show from the 2000s. It's not like it's the only creative aspect of the show either. There are plenty of fun episodes of Jimmy Neutron out there, so I do recommend revisiting the show if you'd like. It's definitely a nostalgia trip you won't regret. Unless you watch Planet Sheen. Please don't do that to yourself. That one you should pretend it doesn't exist. But before I wrap this up, there is one thing that I wanted to share that I got from the special episode. I've gotten used to seeing very often, now more than ever, how separated we all are. Nobody trusts each other anymore, especially online. It seems that we all tend to mistrust and pull away from people quickly. Even in moments when somebody wants to offer a kind hand, we tend to think that they probably want something from us. Seems like today, a lot of people have the mentality of, why would they be so nice to me for free? Time is a very valuable resource for us adults, right? Why would I trust someone to give me their time just from the kindness of their heart when they will get nothing in return? They must want something, right? Look, don't get me wrong. There is a lot of cruelty in this world. A lot of people generally do fake friendliness because they want something from you. But I feel like people think everyone is self-interested by default, and that definitely breaks my heart to see. I wish at the very least that people wouldn't have that default. I think it's okay to trust unless they start doing something suspicious. It's okay to open your heart and mind to people. We can't do everything alone, and we don't have to deal with the hardships alone. So I implore you, try to be more accepting of the idea of making new friends. You'll never know how rewarding it can end up being in the long run. Jimmy was afraid to trust and lean on people because in this show it literally meant the end of the world. But he did trust. He did have leaps of faith, and everything turned out to be okay because of him giving these chances to people. So please, believe in people's hearts, believe in their kindness, believe that we have humanity still. Otherwise, we're just all gonna fall into a deep black darkness, and it's just going to make us all become the worst versions of ourselves. At least that's what I believe. And with that, I conclude this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good shit to help my channel grow. Please click the bell if you want to be notified of new uploads. I upload twice a month on this channel and twice on my anime channel. If you really like this video and want to support me further, please consider pledging $1 or any amount over to my Ko-Fi page. All proceeds will go into helping the growth and quality of this channel. Every buck pledge helps me pay for editors and other tools I might need to make better content, so I would really appreciate the support. The more consistent Ko-Fi people that I have, the more rewards I can try to create for the Ko-Fi page. Also, you can follow me on my socials if you like. Links will be in the description. I hope you have a wonderful day, and remember to stay determined. TTFN, guys!